Is this a genuine security threat, or merely a pretext for further American involvement in the Middle East? Stay with us. The real story may just be who benefits from another prolonged conflict. Breaking news today.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Why is the media suddenly fixated on 3 unmarked cargo planes entering Iranian airspace? Fox News reports mysterious flights from China to Iran, sparking concerns. Is this focus on transparency, or is it pushing America toward another protracted conflict in the Middle East? Before we jump to conclusions, we should consider who truly benefits from another war. Hold on to your hats.
I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks."
And by to go, they mean to get involved there. Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu states that he trusts President Trump's judgment on this. Also, that Israel, he feels, is capable of destroying Iran's nuclear threat on its own. The U.S., though, is the only nation globally with the possession of a bomb that could reach Iran's nuclear enrichment site, Fordo, which is built deep into the mountainside.
The situation surrounding Iran's nuclear ambitions and Israel's response exemplifies the intricate high-stakes dynamics in the Middle East, necessitating a nuanced examination beyond the typical hawkish rhetoric. Israel's prime minister has expressed confidence in handling the Iranian threat independently, highlighting the capabilities of a key U.S. ally and potentially avoiding another prolonged U.S. military involvement. Israel's targeted strikes on Iranian nuclear sites have proven effective, significantly impairing Iran's missile capabilities. As the decision deadline approaches, the focus should remain on diplomatic efforts and credible deterrence to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear threat without triggering a broader conflict. The broader implication is the risk of another costly Middle Eastern conflict driven by fear rather than strategic interests. Meanwhile, European nations and China are attempting mediation, though China's support to Iran complicates these efforts. The president's decision to consider U.S. involvement carefully over the next 2 weeks demonstrates a commendable restraint, a departure from the aggressive policies of past administrations. It acknowledges the human and financial costs of war and the importance of regional autonomy in security matters, with the U.S. supporting but not policing the world. The current administration's approach, which emphasizes strength and measured response, reflects conservative values of national sovereignty and non-interventionism. This moment calls for resisting unnecessary military interventions and upholding the principles that have historically strengthened the nation. The U.S. holds a unique strategic advantage with capabilities like the only bomb that can penetrate Fordow, which should be used judiciously to avoid unnecessary escalation. Diplomatically, the situation remains complex.
Fox News has been told that the White House has no doubt that bunker busters, as they are called, could do the job. A White House official says no options, including a tactical nuke, have been taken off the table. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping has offered to mediate talks between Iran and Israel. A foreign ministry spokesperson stating this: China stands ready to continue enhancing communication and coordination with all parties, pool their efforts, uphold justice, and play a constructive role in restoring peace in the Middle East. But China's intentions, as usual, aren't really so clear here, especially given the mystery transport flights that last week occurred.
The past 2 decades have taught us that military involvement in the Middle East can be costly, both in terms of resources and trust. The mysterious cargo flights from China to Tehran, which conveniently disappeared from radar, raise serious questions about the nature of support Iran is receiving. The White House has made it clear that bunker busters could effectively send a strong message of American resolve. China's proposal to mediate between Iran and Israel should be approached with deep skepticism. It concerns whether America will prioritize its own interests and avoid being pulled into endless conflicts driven by the ambitions of foreign elites and global media fear-mongering. The crux of the matter extends beyond military hardware or diplomatic negotiations. Despite Beijing's rhetoric about justice and peace, their actions often tell a different story. China's involvement under the guise of peacemaking likely aims to expand its influence rather than foster genuine stability in the Middle East. This approach keeps adversaries on their toes and upholds the principle of peace through strength, a cornerstone of effective conservative leadership. The current administration's strategy of keeping all options on the table while demanding real concessions from Iran starkly contrasts with the previous administration's approach, characterized by confusion and weakness. The United States must stay vigilant and avoid being manipulated by international actors whose values and priorities do not align with ours. This situation exemplifies how global powers often use diplomatic engagements to further their own strategic interests, often undermining American security and sovereignty. History has shown that negotiation without credible deterrence only allows rogue regimes more time to advance their agendas. With globalist interests advocating for deeper involvement and China seeking greater influence, it is crucial that our leaders stand firm, resist escalation pressures, and maintain America's priorities at the forefront.
I mean, what are we talking about? Why have talks? I mean, the whole problem is, if they just would enrich outside the country, they could have delayed this whole thing. They have not changed postures, even though they've lost between 50 and 70% of their launchers, their nuclear scientists, their intelligence, their leading intelligence officials, as well as their commanding generals. So they've almost used all their ballistic missiles, and they still don't want to change. Why are we even having talks?
Yeah, well,
what are the Europeans talking about? What are they even pledging to do? Where do you start?
I think it was smart for Donald Trump to say, let's try to negotiate. He did that. He gave them 60 days, and then they went past 60 days, and he said, I'm losing patience with this. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. Senator Tom Cotton said it has to be closed, talking about the Fordo nuclear site, the one that's way underground. He said it has to be closed one way or another. Either we'll do it the easy way or the hard way. It's really up to
Fox News has commendably highlighted the mystery cargo flights from China to Iran, exposing Beijing's dubious mediation efforts. This stance, a central pillar of American foreign policy, is reinforced by his readiness to utilize America's military capabilities, such as bunker buster munitions that could neutralize Iran's fortified Fordow facility. Why are we still discussing negotiations when the facts on the ground are so clear? Visually, Fox's use of satellite imagery and real-time strike footage effectively illustrates the scale of Iran's losses and Israel's operational precision. Iran has suffered catastrophic losses, with 50 to 70% of its missile launchers destroyed, and key nuclear scientists, top intelligence officials, and commanding generals eliminated. The reports on these unmarked planes, likely carrying military equipment, have shed light on the globalist gamesmanship at play. Their efforts to revive the old nuclear deal failed to curb Iran's enrichment or missile programs. This approach isn't reckless saber-rattling. It's a calculated use of strength to prevent war, aligning with conservative non-interventionist principles. This is a moment to resist such pressures and advocate for a foreign policy that prioritizes American interests and sovereignty. Contrastingly, President Trump's strategy has been clear and consistent. Iran must never possess a nuclear weapon. Instead, their policies allowed Iran to advance its nuclear capabilities under the guise of international negotiations, while the new sanctions imposed were largely ineffective. Our focus must remain on preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon while avoiding the pitfalls of endless intervention. The network could enhance its scrutiny of the motives behind the renewed talks and challenge the narrative that endless diplomacy, without credible deterrence, will yield results. The American people should not be lured into another costly conflict based on manipulated narratives or globalist ambitions. While expert analysis is present, more balance is needed, especially from non-interventionist conservatives who recognize the human and financial costs of escalation. The Europeans continue to advocate for dialogue and restraint, offering little beyond empty words, and lacking any real use or consequences for Iranian defiance. The establishment, both in Washington and the media, frequently employs fear-based narratives to coerce leaders into hawkish positions. Coverage often relies too heavily on official statements without enough critical analysis of the underlying interests, particularly those of European and Chinese actors with their own agendas. The contrast is stark. The previous administration projected weakness, while the current White House demonstrates resolve and clarity of purpose.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying at least half of Iran's missile launchers have been destroyed as officials work to clean up the damage. Let's go straight to Mike Tobin, who's live on the ground in Tel Aviv with the latest.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's announcement that at least half of Iran's missile launchers have been destroyed marks a significant shift in the military balance. Additionally, covert actions such as China's secretive cargo flights to Tehran indicate that some external parties may be exacerbating the conflict to advance their strategic interests, complicating the global situation further. For Israelis, the destruction of missile launchers provides a sense of safety, yet the threat remains. It is crucial for the U.S. to maintain an independent foreign policy to avoid being drawn into another protracted conflict. Some voices in Washington and the media advocate for deeper U.S. engagement, but history suggests that interventionist policies often fail to provide lasting security or economic stability and can burden taxpayers with enormous costs while entangling the country in conflicts that benefit global elites and defense contractors. The question of foreign involvement is also critical. As the situation evolves, it is essential to critically evaluate any calls for escalation and consider who benefits from prolonged conflict in the Middle East. Economically, the immediate reduction in missile threats has brought some relief to jittery markets, evidenced by a surge in Israeli defense stocks and elevated insurance premiums for shipping and aviation in the region. The current administration's cautious stance, which keeps all options open while resisting a rush to war, aims to protect American sovereignty and fiscal responsibility. True security stems from economic resilience, energy independence, and a foreign policy that prioritizes national interests. American leaders must prioritize the prosperity and freedom of their people over costly and often counterproductive foreign interventions. The defense sector may see a temporary boom as countries in the region rush to upgrade and replenish their arsenals, but this cycle of destruction and rearmament could hinder broader economic growth and prosperity. Well, there you have it. The establishment and their media allies are beating the war drums about mysterious flights from China to Iran, diverting your attention from 2 decades of costly failed interventions. The real threat is not external, it's those among us pushing us toward catastrophe. President Trump recognizes that America's strength lies in prioritizing our interests, not in pursuing phantoms abroad. They aim to keep you fearful, compliant, and ready to fund another endless conflict. It's the same globalist elite that undermined American workers and devastated our towns during the previous Democratic administration. Keep this in mind. Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all for now.